We interrupt this podcast to bring you this breaking news story. I'm your on-location reporter, Falsey News. Did I read that right? A dinosaur? All right, screw it, why not? Eyewitnesses report that a wayward dinosaur has been spotted near the Media District. Paleontologists have dubbed this mysterious beast Alosaurolophus. Its distinguishing features include a goatee and dad joke energy, coupled with its surprising intellect and insight. Chief Boyardee has dispatched the Squirrel, Ape and Trash Panda Brigade to meet this creature, in hopes of a peaceful outcome. More on this story as it develops.
Welcome everybody. I'm in pain and can't nail this intro to save my goddamn life, so here we go, take 3. Welcome to the Wait, What Was I Doing? A squirrel, an ape, a trash panda, and a goddamn dinosaur's ADHD podcast. Hot damn, I fucking got it.
Boom.
Fuck, that was not easy. I do know why. I'm in pain. I'm overstimulated. I've been called out so much this episode.
And it's about goddamn time.
It was so nice seeing her squirm, I won't lie.
Listen, this episode should not, in fact, be the wrap-up episode for our Invalidation series. It is entitled, A Squirrel, an Ape, a Trash Panda, and a Dinosaur Talk Invalidation. It should, in fact, just be a squirrel and an ape listen in on a trash panda's therapy session with a goddamn dinosaur.
That is so apt. So apt.
Not wrong.
Let's be real, though. It wasn't just a therapy session for Lee. There was a lot of therapy in there for Spaz and I laughing, too.
There was that, but there was also a lot of really good advice coming direct from a therapist. So
Definitely an excellent episode.
Thank you all for attending my therapy session. I hope that you get as much from it as I did. Alex will be sure to charge me later.
probably.
And with that, here we go.
So no shit, there we were. A squirrel, an ape, and a trash panda. Just chillin', getting ready to record episode 6, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in comes this fucking dinosaur of an individual.
I'm gonna say, roar, roar.
Coming in with the full-on attacks against Lee, by the way.
I
Just so
am
we're all
already
know.
uncomfortable.
What the fuck kind of sound was that?
Mine? or Alex's?
Yours. It was like a baby Wookiee.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Maybe your wiki sounds completely different.
There we go. That's the one we wanted. Beautiful.
There's the clip.
Okay.
Anyway, coming in out of left field,
Hello, everyone.
we have our very first guest.
Aw, shucks.
Oh, shucks.
I can't believe anybody wouldn't want to hang out with you guys. You're all fantastic and adorable, and I like all 3 of you.
Oh, good lord. No, this is energy, this is emotions, I'm not...
She's not comfortable. They're not comfortable.
Lee
with
doesn't
this.
do emotions.
No.
I don't like emotion.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's okay, though, because we brought a therapist.
Emotion is on my coin and trade. We always talk about emotional reality versus logical reality. We try to, cope by using logical reality while ignoring our emotions, and then, get some emotions come by like a linebacker and kick logic into gym jams and knock over your whiteboard.
And how does that make you feel?
Pretty fucking good.
So for those following
I'm
at
hurt
home,
that he damaged my whiteboard.
Lee, would you
Yo.
tell us who our special guest is for the day?
Why do I have to do all the heavy lifting
Because
here?
you're the
Jesus
fucking announcer for this episode, so go.
You have the prettiest hair.
You also went and researched the proper saying of his TikTok name, so.
Excuse me. It's simply Alosaurolophus. If you can't say it, I don't know what to say. It is the most simple name on TikTok to say.
But anyway.
If we don't study our dinosaurs, what do we study?
And to be
Emotions,
honest with
apparently.
and to be honest with you, all of our listeners here, if you have not heard either of us talk about Alex already, you're fucking way behind, because we constantly call him out and talk about him and talk about the excellent work that he does. So it's a big, big honor for us to have you here.
I love
You
how
are-
you took the easy way out on that name, by the way.
You are an amazing friend of ours.
It's gonna make me blush over here, guys. I'm just a therapist from Moline, Illinois.
But you have chickens, which raises the cool factor.
I do love my chickens. They are fantastic. The chickens saved our life during the pandemic. Thank you very much.
So I
I
recall seeing. But I've been following Alex for a long time. And
A long time.
You were actually
Yeah.
one of the first major creators that followed me and commented on my stuff. In fact, you were the first.
I want to say it was Spaz who told me to talk to you or to start following you, and I did. And I remember when you were just a baby account, and here you are in that 100,000 plus follower category.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That happened like overnight too. Like I was sitting at 60,000 for 2 months, and then I just like did a couple of videos, and people were like, "Oh yeah, that seems cool." And all of a sudden, I literally went to bed, and I was like, "Oh wow, I might actually get." Oh, and I woke up the next morning, and there I was, and it just keeps. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just happy people like my content.
I'm so excited for you, and I hate you at the same time because I am right fucking there, and I still haven't crossed that threshold.
You're close. You're
I've been
inching.
close for a month.
Boo-hoo.
That's how it happens,
Boo-hoo.
though. I mean,
Listen,
you know,
you're
like
barely a content creator over there, so
I have been at I've been under 21,000 followers for like 3 fucking months now. I don't want to hear it.
I also just
Yeah.
want to point out that Patrick did specifically come into this podcast saying, just so you all know, I made a video right before this podcast, so today I'm a content creator.
I said I was a kind of content creator. Thank you very
today,
much.
one day only.
And it's not about how many people follow your content. It's about the content you put out and whether or not it helps people.
Well,
It
This is
totally
true.
is.
and I'll say you were one of the. I mean, Spaz was like the first big content creator who followed me as well, and then Lee was the next. But you were the first person who I wasn't like having a friendly relationship with initially that followed me, and that meant a lot to me. You were the first professional that I know that followed me. So
Yeah, I think you were the first professional that followed me as well. I have a few more now, but I want to say the first one was you.
Well, and Katie actually, like when I first started doing it, Katie was the first person that I saw, and it's funny because like the only reason that I even got on TikTok at all was Katie was like, "Oh hey, I'm doing this thing called TikTok." I'm like, "Okay, fine, whatever, babes. I'll download the app." And it's like, "Oh wow, look at you with all the things." And then she like plugged me one time, and then she's like, "These are some other people that you should check out." I'm like, "Okay, cool," and I will. And then I saw you guys, except for you, Pat.
I wasn't around
Because he's only a sometimes content creator.
You weren't around yet.
No, not yet. So.
Also, for the record, Katie, if you're hearing this, you're still not following me on TikTok, and it hurts my feelings.
I knew that was coming.
But anyways,
Well, don't feel bad because Katie is basically my little sister, and she comments on my videos and hits likes on my videos about twice a year.
I'm not
She
even.
was trapped in my house. I fed her dinner.
I mean,
She's like an honorary aunt to my daughter.
But you couldn't rescue her from the con and the horrors of the booth at the con?
That was a contractual obligation, and I'm not allowed to.
Wait, you don't do contract law also?
No, no. I guess I could get another degree. No,
Well,
my wife said no.
My wife said no.
It's funny you said that because that's actually a great little segue into, I'm sure there are some people that if they don't follow you, 1, they need to, 2, they need to reanalyze their life choices, and 3, are probably going to be asking, what qualifications does this guy even have?
I'm so glad you asked, Spaz.
Good.
I'm an LCSW. I graduated with my master's in social work in 2010 from St. Ambrose University in Davenport, Iowa. And after that, I got my different levels of licensure. I'm a licensed clinical practitioner in private practice. And basically, a licensed clinical social worker is the same as like a licensed counselor or an LMFT. It's a master's level certification to practice. It is down some, like you can actually get a doctorate in social work, but I'm not going to because my wife told me not to go to school anymore. Also, honestly, the doctorate in social work is literally like a vanity plate because it doesn't make any difference unless you're going to teach. Like you don't get paid any different. Nothing changes. It's just like, hey, cool, I have a doctorate. And people have to call me doctor now. But people already call me doctor, and I have to correct them all the time. It drives me nuts. I'm not a doctor. I'm a master.
There's a Star Wars joke that goes with that. But
I was going to say it's either a Star Wars joke or a kink joke somewhere in there. I get them all. Trust me. And basically, so there's a bunch of different levels of master's degrees that allow you to practice. There's a master's in counseling. There's a master's in psychology. There's a master's in social work. I guess not a lot. There's like 3. But they allow us to practice at the master's level, and we have to get, somebody, like, after I graduated, I had to get 2 years of clinical supervision in order to sit for my independent license degree. And then after that, I was able to practice independently. And since then, I have dedicated myself primarily to working with PTSD, ADHD, and anxiety. Those are the things in my wheelhouse. But I also work with a lot of, like, kind of the rare stuff, like non-neuroepileptic seizures, different sleep disorders, psychosomatic pain, stuff like that.
So chronic pain.
Yeah, I work with chronic pain.
We were talking before the podcast, and I was like, I should send Alex a message more often.
Well, and with chronic pain, you really want to look for somebody that does acceptance commitment therapy. That's like one of the best treatment modalities for dealing with chronic pain. But it's not. It's only becoming popular in the therapy world over about the last 7-8 years. So there's not a lot of people that are certified in it yet. I'm not certified in it. I've done a lot of reading on it. I've taken a couple of classes on it, but I just kind of like morph that in with my mindfulness, CBT, EMDR, ITP, brain spotting, and the other things. And then also I'm certified I'm trained in mental health and nutrition. So I just finished that certification. That was fun.
So as somebody who is certified, with mental health and nutrition and all of that stuff, can carbs, sugars, and red dye 40 cause ADHD?
No. You were born. God damn it. Really? You're going to go right there?
this is what Lee does.
You're going to piss me off right at the beginning of the podcast there, Red? God damn it. No. We are born.
My job here is done.
ADHD is a genetic trait. However, that being said, dietary issues can definitely influence our overall function, and that is one of the aspects that I talk to my clients about. Is like maintaining a low carb, low sugar diet can be very helpful with executive dysfunction, focus, and things like that, as well as avoiding unnatural dyes, processed foods. Like the healthier you eat to an organic, clean, healthy diet, eating lots of dark green leafy vegetables, modified proteins, good, clean, organic proteins are better. Grass-fed, if you can do some grass-fed stuff, you get the omegas in there, chow, it helps so much. Like, we don't understand that food is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me that a good diet and some exercise can help with the symptoms of ADHD? I can see the annoyance on his face right now, like this bitch.
It can help with the system, but it is not a cure. Eating a banana does not cure ADHD. Doing push-ups does not cure ADHD. But having some kind of regular activity, it doesn't have to be aggressive or intensely physical activity. Well, even like different types of activity, physical activity, have been shown to help with different things. Like high-impact training or weightlifting are actually better for depression than anxiety, and aerobic exercise is actually better for anxiety than depression. And those are all very common co-occurring issues with ADHD because of invalidation and trauma.
Speaking of ADHD, though, you yourself have ADHD, correct? For those who don't know who Alosaurolophus is?
Have you talked to me for more than like 3 minutes?
I mean, I've been talking to you for like the last hour, so.
I mean, it's a pretty.
Go. No.
Pat, you're prettier than me. You talk.
The lies coming out of Alex's mouth right now. Hey, Alex, why did you just invalidate the way that you look like that?
Whoa.
That man. This is an observation. I've seen Pat in person. I have fenced against Pat. That man is gorgeous. I would eat food off of him.
Legit.
Well, what I was going to say was it's a pretty good bet that if you're on this show with us, you probably have ADHD. Just
right,
saying.
but this was a lead-in question. This was me setting him up.
I actually have combined type ADHD.
Hey, join the club.
I was actually diagnosed when I was 8 years old, but that was back in the 80s, and I also have a super high IQ. So the school psychologist and my parents basically like tucked the diagnosis away so that I wouldn't get put into special ed and be dumped Ritalin down my throat. And then I kind of like knew that I was a little different, and I knew that my brain worked differently than most. And really, it wasn't until I was in private practice when I turned 38 and I started in private practice, and our admin was like, "Hey, Alex, you work a lot with ADHD. We should teach you how to do all the different assessments." And our testing psychologist actually instructed me on how to like read the Connors CPT-3 and like looking at some of the other diagnostics. And I'm like, if I'm going to be making my clients take a Connors, I should know what it's like. And I sat down and I took the Connors and had myself a good little. I had a little nap under the desk afterwards. A little cry. Went back to my office. Thought about my life. Talked to my fish. Played with some toys. And then I was like, and then I looked at him like, "Hey, Dr. Ludwig, who's our testing psychologist, brilliant, wonderful man. He is a fount of endless knowledge." I'm like, "Does this?" He's like, "Oh yeah. These are pretty high indicators that you're probably somewhere ADHD. Yeah." Mm-hmm. and I'm like, "Oh." He's like, "Oh, I thought you knew."
So we've established that all it takes is about a 3-minute conversation with you to determine that you have ADHD and that you had Ritalin poured down your throat as a child.
I did not have Ritalin poured down my throat.
No, you did not.
I did not.
Okay,
Because
I misheard.
my ADHD diagnosis, because in the 80s, if you had ADHD, you got put into alternative
right.
classes and doped. And
There
so
is my listening skills.
especially here in the Midwest, because that was standard practice around here. So they basically snuffed it. They put me into gifted classes instead, and I got to have weekly meetings with our school psychologist for like 6 years.
See, I got put into the gifted classes when I was in elementary as well, and a little bit into junior high. But of course, this was never a thing that they'd ever spoken to my mother about that I'm aware of.
The thing is, like, when we grew up, though, that was a thing. Like, they would smother that ADHD diagnosis because otherwise because that was back when they just like give us heroic doses of Ritalin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, way too much for a little kid with a growing mind.
Yeah.
Now, from what I know about you,
Yes.
you control your ADHD non-medicated due to health issues, correct?
Yeah. I got a weak kicker because when I was in my 20s, I had an amphetamine issue, which damaged my heart. And so I use a combination of different supplements, neurotropics, diet, exercise, mindfulness practice, Buddhism. Plus, also, I've just kind of cultivated a lifestyle that feeds my ADHD and lets me live a more genuine life. And is it easy? Absolutely not. Do I have a lot of friends? No.
I'm your friend, I hope.
Well, yeah, but I like actual ones that I can like hang out with and play with.
Wow, you hear that? I'm not an actual friend. I'm so hurt.
You are a delightful friend, but I only can touch you through technology, and that makes me sad. I like people that I can hug. I'm a hugger.
Fucking COVID.
We're gonna have to get together one of these days again soon and touch each other with swords again.
Well,
Can I play? Well, I only use the wooden swords from
Yeah, you
SCA.
use the wooden swords, Lee. Sorry.
You could teach me. I'll learn.
our swords bend and they're safer that way, sort of.
I mean, I am a very big teacher up here, so I can teach you as well. But
I had taught for a very long time with our home group, and I've actually been on hiatus. Well, I left our home group a while ago just because personal issues with them, and I kind of travel up to North Shield. I go down to Callantyre here and there, but I don't really get around much doing that anymore. Well, and especially since I got hurt. Since COVID, I haven't done doodly squat.
no, I haven't either, and I'm still not getting involved in it again until I get my blood pressure under control. So.
That's fair. Well, and I've got a neck problem that I'm also worried about. We're trying to figure out why I was getting concussions all the time from tournaments. Apparently, I have a disorder called hypolordosis, where there's no flex in my neck. It's also called military neck. So there's even a debate as to whether or not I should fence anymore.
Yeah,
Because I'm not going to be that guy that says, okay, no headshots though, okay? Because I'm not going to be that guy. I refuse to be that guy because I've gotten into tournaments with people where they're like, okay, you can't hit me in my torso or my left leg. No.
No,
I'm not doing that.
You're a target.
For those who don't know, Alex and Lee and I are all part of a group, a medieval recreationist group, full of neurodivergents called the Society of Creative Anachronism. And it's spread out all over the United States and the world. So if you're ever interested, go ahead and check them out, SCA.org.
I highly recommend it.
So.
I'm pretty sure it's just a neurodivergent breeding program.
Right?
I'm pretty sure you're right, because my neurotypical husband won't touch it with a 5-foot pole.
Right?
I know that they do have them up here, but I don't think that I'm physically able to, given the condition of my knees, how garbage they are.
What we're talking about with the heavy combat fighting and stuff like that, that's definitely not a requirement. There are
that's
very
just-
few people in the SCA who actually do it.
You are an artsy dude. And
That
there's
is
a whole lot
highly
of science
welcome.
and arts in that SCA, in the
Highly
SCA as well.
welcome.
This is
That's-
what it's about, really. That's where you get the cool words.
Yeah, that's where Katie is heavily involved in it in the arts and sciences community instead. So
So given my recent diagnosis and the fact that I won't probably be able to do heavy combat fighting too much longer, I'm moving much more into like the artsy side of the SCA. And one of the rabbit holes I found my hyperfocus dropping down is learning how to make thread out of silkworm cocoons so that I can make thread that is actually
sweet.
like I have the cocoons and stuff like that, and it's learning how to make thread and dye it in the same processes that they use to dye threads.
I am going to introduce you. Remind me to introduce you to my Grand Knight's wife. She did PhD level research on this, including raising her own silkworms.
Oh, amazing!
So now that you say that, I need to do that.
My big thing is like I want to enter a big competition with a needlepoint that I have completely created. Like I am going through the process of learning how to grow the fibers that I need in order to weave them into the fabric that I can use, and then using the silkworm cocoons and dyeing the threads and stuff like that so that I can do like a sampler-like piece.
That's awesome. That's respectfully, that's hot.
So, anyways,
Anyway,
okay.
back on track, because I'm doing a shitty job as a bus driver, but this is what happens when 4 squirrels are in a room together.
10 and 2! 10 and 2!
Well, if you guys didn't make me quit, different words are hard.
Stop being so charming and engaging, sorry.
I just have one more question for you, Alex, before we start talking about invalidation with ADHD and wrapping up this whole little series that we've done. What the fuck is an Alosaurolophus?
Well, when a mommy Parasaurolophus and a daddy Allosaurus love each other very much, you get this monstrosity. No, I just really love dinosaurs. Like, I've always loved dinosaurs, and Parasaurolophus is my favorite one. And I was literally making my TikTok everything at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, I'm going to be a dinosaur too. And I just kind of like punched it in. And I didn't think about the fact that I would actually ever start making content or even become a popular content creator. And now it's like Yarravettler. We've got the name we can't pronounce, which is a province in Wisconsin in the SCA, but it's spelled really funky. And yeah, and there have been multiple times where I'm like, I should put a screen name for something.
No.
Somebody can go, Alosaurolophus.
Listen, it's a very exclusive club to the people who can say Alosaurolophus.
Oh yeah.
So you would disappoint a lot of people, I think, if you changed
obviously
your
you're
name.
not quite involved in that group yet, are you? Huh?
You got that.
I'm sorry. This coming from the one who took the easy way and kept calling him Alex every time he said his name.
Mm-hmm.
I screw up my own name in my own videos, and it's mine.
And
takes some
it's
skill.
Alosaurolophus.
I'm sorry. What was it?
Alosaurolophus.
Okay, that sounded better.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
So
But I'm
thank
saying
you very
it right.
much.
Am I saying it wrong?
But I say
Alosaurolophus?
Alex. I say Alex because I don't need a badge of honor to say that name.
No, the last time you said Alosaurolophus.
I know I fucked it up last time because I tripped over my own tongue. So, like if this is your first time listening to the podcast, surprise, Lee can't speak. But if you've been here for the other 5 fucking episodes, 6 if you include episode 0, you already know this. And I know for a fact that you two dickwads know this, so...
let's talk about ADHD and how our brains actually go faster than our mouths, and how speech impediments, stumbling and stuttering words is actually a very common thing with ADHD, gentlemen.
True or false? This is
That's
also
the story
tied
of
to
my
executive
existence.
to the area of the brain that controls the executive functioning abilities within.
Listen. I love you, Alex, but you have to give us our little call-outs on Lee after she fucking brutalizes us as much as she does during these episodes. Oh, fuck you. Shut up.
You're still mad about last episode.
Well, but also every time you fluster Lee, the bus gets closer and closer to a fiery death.
They're used to it.
And at some point, I have to go take care of my chickens today.
I am like 90% sure that their entire role in this podcast is to make me crash that bus. It's not, they like to lord me as the bus driver, the person who keeps us on track and, maybe not in the same lane, but somewhere on the median. But they have a low-key job that I think they agreed upon in between themselves when I wasn't there to try to make me fucking just end over end this bus off a fucking cliff.
So to be honest with you, we did not agree on this beforehand. It's just the fact that we share the same fucking brain.
It was just a developed consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like my oh shit handle came off, I think 3 episodes ago, and I just been stashing it under the seat.
You had no shit handle?
I was one of the lucky ones, yeah.
That motherfucker got burned after the RSD episode. Let's be real.
I used it today. I don't know. It works so much better.
And on that note, we will be right back after these commercial breaks.
Hey, it's Auditory here, Processing Manager for Squirrel. I wanted to personally promote our newest R&D in our food line. Let me introduce to you Attachment Getty. We took inspiration from that brand name Alpha Getty and re-engineered it to give you a better ability to grow attachment to things that you shouldn't be attached to. This product has been thoroughly tested for the past few months by a single volunteer to make sure the most attachment is achieved. And who better to volunteer for this wonderful opportunity than me? Unfortunately, I have not grown any attachments to anything at all, and we are now looking for new volunteers to help with testing. You can apply at the following webpage, www.
Who the hell put a squirrel in a lab coat and let it run around in my office? That's it. I'm calling animal control. These creatures are everywhere and they're creating the stupidest shit.
Wait, no, we are so close. I can almost feel the attachment. Please, don't take the mic away from me. I can't go on without creating more amazing products.
We are experiencing some technical difficulties. Please stand by while we load up the next part of your podcast. Thank you for your patience.
Well, so now that we have gotten the introduction with Alex out of the way and run down a massive, massive rabbit hole,
including a proposal to his wife.
I'm just saying, polyamory is a thing. If y'all are comfortable, we could talk about it.
Nope. I'm gonna shut up now. Do not start with the email. Do not start with the email, motherfucker. Anyways, okay, back on topic. Here we go. Okay. So we are going to dive into invalidation and ADHD. We, as content creators and educated people inside the ADHD community, we understand and know that people with ADHD receive far more negative interactions and negative messages throughout their life than neurotypical people. And we want to discuss how this takes a toll on us as people who are going through a neurotypical world with ADHD. So feel free to, who wants to chime in first? Lee, you usually have stats. What's the stats for it again? Do you remember?
Act like I didn't do the homework 15 minutes before it was fucking due because I've been in pain, sir.
It's 20,000 more negative comments by the time we are 10 years old, last I read.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was 20 or 10,000, and I think I was getting the 10 years.
Alex, have you got a better stat?
No, that's actually pretty accurate. 20,000 by the time we're 10 years old is the average. I would guesstimate, depending on the individual, the resources available, whether or not the parents are aware and educated about ADHD, as well as the teachers, and whether or not they know what they're doing with an ADHD kiddo. Because a lot of the time, I think the biggest thing is that people don't get to know the ADHD person themselves. Because, like, the way that I function is very different from the way that my daughter functions. It's very different than the way a lot of clients function. And one of the things that I really work hard on is to not generalize ADHD.
You said something earlier, and I think I've heard Spaz say the same thing. And I think that it really illustrates that point, is that if you've met a person with ADHD, you've met one person with ADHD.
Yeah.
That is a Bill Monroe quote. And for those people who don't follow Bill Monroe on the TikTok,
Bill's awesome.
He is just a phenomenal human being.
So go to check if I am or not.
I know I am.
Shrink 3 with a C.
That guy is absolutely fantastic. And that was a quote that he made and that's something that I stole. And I informed him that I was stealing that. I said, Bill, I'm taking that. It's mine now. And he said, that's good, Alex. Thank you for that compliment, because that's Bill.
It is.
He is the Zen master of ADHD, really and truly. I love his content. Someday I actually want to meet up with him and just hang out and, I don't know, do weird stuff. And Bill has ADHD too.
Yep.
And he's just a phenomenal content creator. He's very calm. He's very peaceful, and he's definitely got that like wise grandfather thing. But every now and then he drops an F-bomb, and it's like watching Mary Poppins spit. It's fantastic.
That's my kind of creator right there.
It's funny you say that though too, because like one of the ones that stands out in my mind of one of the videos that I did that he commented on that he like praised was one of my takedowns. Was one of the ones where I was fucking taken down that was in somebody that was invalidating the community, and he's like, "Awesome job, thank you." I'm like, "Huh?"
I peed a little.
Yeah.
Said I was good.
Right.
But that's the thing is like, well, and that brings me to a next thing is like a little bit of validation goes a long way with ADHD, because we don't give a lot. Like my wife has learned to cookie train me with praise, and we talked about this. Like we actually worked through this. I'm like, because like there's this whole like double standard of like I shouldn't be praised for doing the dishes because that's a chore that I do.
Yeah.
But when my wife praises me for doing the dishes, it makes me feel good about doing the dishes, and it makes me want to do it more. Just like when I cook, my wife says, "This is really good. I like this." And it feels so good. But I also make sure to switch that, and I praise her when she does things as well. Because that's the thing, is it has to be a two-way street. Validation and praise has to go, but I love you too. Nice butt. Hate to see your leave. I love my wife so much. She is the best thing ever. But that's the thing, is that's true in any relationship, and that's true in the relationship with my kid. Like I don't like when she cleans a section of her room, I don't say, "Okay, what about the rest?" I say, "Hey, good job. I can see 4. Right on. This is great. This is a wonderful start. Doesn't that feel good? Now, what else can I help you with right now? How can I support you in keeping moving forward by giving you a wonderful, comfortable space for you to call your own sanctuary?"
Yeah.
I think
What's different than, why don't you clean your fucking room, kid? Jesus Christ. Also, we don't learn how to clean. Nobody teaches us how to do chores. It's just supposed to be like ingrained automatic in our brains. And like, I remember when I was a kid, I had this like giant slider wall closet, and my method of cleaning my room was to take all my shit and shove it into my closet and close the doors. The room was clean.
It looked like it.
I think as a parent, the validating and the praising of getting small sections or steps of a task done is probably one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with when it comes like remembering to do with my ADHD kiddos.
Well, and you were never taught it yourself.
It wasn't something that I was raised with. It was, you do this right, and I'm not, like, my mom, of course, is a bitch. It's not like I ever got any fucking praise from her to begin with. But, of course, my family would choose to drive the four-wheeler in the backyard, right outside my fucking window while we're recording a podcast. I'm down.
Whereas my mom would use Pomodoro with me growing up.
See, that's brilliant.
My mom was a social worker for the state, and then she actually did counseling as well. And so, like, I didn't know that she was basically, like, ADHD training me growing up, but I would look back at my childhood, I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. She did Pomodoro with me. She had me, like, go, okay, what do you want to do first, next, last? What are your steps? So she taught me that critical thinking early on. And Mom, if you're ever listening to this video, which you're probably not because you don't use technology, I love you. You did a great job. You really are. She's actually like, she lives like 15 minutes from us. So I don't know why I'm shouting.
She lives 15 minutes from you. She might hear you.
She might hear you, yeah.
But that's amazing to hear, because somebody like Lee and I, who or even, I think Spaz has mentioned this as well, none of us got that kind of support when we were growing up.
No.
We were constantly invalidated. We were constantly compared to neurotypicals and asked to be like them. And that created a level of invalidation that we have internalized in our entire lives. And we are still struggling with to this day, even though we know it's bad, even though we know it's terrible. we are constantly going out of our way to support and help people in the ADHD community, yet we invalidate the hell out of ourselves because this is just what we were taught, and we've never had that treatment.
I feel like for me it's become a baseline normal.
Yeah.
And if I'm not being invalidated from an external source, then I will internally invalidate myself to make up for the lack of invalidation that's happening around me.
Agreed.
Absolutely. No, there's a lot of that. Also, we tend to actually become mistrustful of validation. Like when somebody says, "Hey, good job," you're like, "Eh," and what do? I could have done this. I could have done that. No, shut up. Say thank you.
I'm also a child of abuse. So the lack of invalidation that came from my home was astronomical. But normally if validation or praise came in my household, it was a stipulation or a prelude to something else that was going to be a traumatic experience. So that exactly, I am completely distrustful of praise and of validation of my own skills because for me that's ingrained with that negative thinking pattern.
Absolutely. Praise was conditional and usually in manipulation. You see that a lot with the children of narcissistic parents.
My mom has narcissistic personality disorder.
As well as the children of individuals with BPD as well. And the rough part about BPD is that like every emotion is dialed up to 11. So if you're like, you know, an enthusiastic parent, you're like over the top, like let's go to Vegas right now, or you know, things like that. Or or even if it's just like a minor infraction, like you spilled water on the floor, it can be heartbreaking in that moment. And there's so much battle with emotion. But yeah, dealing with the you know, the C and CPTSD, it's far more insidious than the big T trauma. Like I talk about little T trauma and big T trauma a lot in my videos, and I use that as a definer because the big T trauma is like a major identifiable thing, like a sexual assault or being held at gunpoint.
You witness something horrific.
Exactly. Like something really, or even like vicarious trauma, where you didn't experience it firsthand, but you witnessed it, like
9/11.
That exactly the definition for that particular variant of PTSD actually stemmed out of 9/11 because everybody was watching it on TV.
God, I remember watching people jump from the building.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, and I've actually treated a handful of clients that were in the buildings, various buildings from 9/11, and it's intense work. I had a couple people that were doing rescue work in one of the buildings that was struck by 9/11, and that was really rough work because the biggest thing was survivor's guilt of like I couldn't pull everybody out, I couldn't save everyone, and I actually noticed, I was like, wow, I'm actually getting triggered by this because I remember them watching them pull people out. And, you know, back then I did a little bit of like first responder work, and I was like, I should be in New York. I should be in Washington. I should be somewhere helping. But I was going to community college in Iowa at the time, and I was like, nope, I can't do that.
Now, during 9/11, my brother was a first responder, and for those of you that don't know, I lived in New York. Now, I didn't live in the city, I lived in upstate, but 9/11 was such a huge fucking thing that people from all over the state, emergency responders from all over the state, were dispatched to the city, and my brother happened to be one of them. And at the time, I was living in at a private school, so I wasn't with family or anything like that. And the only thing that I got told was that my brother was going to Ground Zero, and that was it. And I didn't hear anything else, and nobody had heard from him for quite a while. And we were all just fucking. I just remember being petrified that my stepbrother had died in this, not really piecing together that by the time he had been dispatched to go down to New York City, and the fact that it takes about 5 hours to get down there, that the buildings had already collapsed and everything like that, that the most dangerous part of what had happened at that time had already passed. And I'm secluded from my family, and where we went to school, they were we're not like when we were at the school, and I remember it happening, they didn't let us look at newspapers. They didn't let us watch TV. We were very isolated from the entire incident. But because I lived on campus, when we went back up to the dorms, we all turned on the televisions because we had left school early that day. I mean, in New York, it didn't matter where you were in New York. It happened in New York, and that was a very big deal for us. And
completely different experience than what I had, because like that whole week, all the professors basically agreed we're not getting the shit done this week. We're all going to watch we're going to watch the TVs all day.
See, and for me that week was I had actually re-enlisted in the Navy on September 7th. And I was at home on leave, transitioning to go out of country when all this went down. So that was, a whole new level of intensity for me, because we had just moved from, I'd been in the Navy for 5 years at that point. I had, we were peacetime fleet, everything like that, to I went overseas, and then I was on a plane all the time working on submarines in the Gulf or wherever they were broke down across the world, because they weren't letting them come back to home port anymore, except for to do their small change outs or whatever. So we were constantly on the go, and the next 4 years after 9/11, I spent traveling all the time. The fear of that, because of what happened on 9/11, was just super intense.
Right. But going back to what we were talking about right before that, looking at the little T trauma, the jabs, the bites, the bullying, the demeaning comments, things like that, like that's the progression of what an individual experiences.
I think that's a good place to kind of move on to our next segment now, because we've talked about invalidating an ADHD, and the next segment is going to be invalidation in the family, which we started to talk about CPTSD, and that is a big one for people with narcissistic parents and their ADHD,
or even just uneducated parents.
Truth as well.
Because you can have a perfectly wonderful good parent that doesn't know what to do with an ADHD kid,
mm-hmm.
and that can create all kinds of damage and a huge power struggle.
And there you go, folks. So stand by and please enjoy this word from our sponsors.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you this breaking news story. I'm your on-location reporter, Falsey News. A love bomb has recently gone off in town square, and sticky love words have been scattered from introductions to Beyond Meme madness. Victims have told the local moderation team that they have been overcome with feelings of worth, love and gratefulness. Eyewitnesses claim to have spotted the perpetrator scurrying away in all the mayhem, leaving behind a trail of cheese crumbs, and a note written in pink crayon, signed, a Nonny Mouse. Local administrators estimate that it will take at least 3 days to clean up all the glitter and Swiss. We will bring you more on this story as it develops.
On the next episode of The Pretty and the Petty, Patricia and Leon face a strain in their relationship. As old flames return from the past, have their invalidating ways faded like the love of days gone by? Find out on The Pretty and the Petty, the Lounge's #1 soap opera. Weekdays at 2 p.m, only on Channel 80, in HD.
In the criminal justice system, squirrel-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In the Squirrel Station, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Squirrel Unit. These are their stories.
This week, Officer Rin and Dr. Kate work to find a cure for the deadly toxin let loose on Squirrel Station by the Empress of Plants, while Desi enlists CJ to help with a personal matter. Catch a new episode of Squirrel Squad 6, Tuesday nights at 9, only on Channel 80 in HD.
I got volunteered as tribute. Fuck my life. I got kids screaming in the background.
I mean, it's perfect for you. You get kids screaming in the back. Why don't you start opening up Invalidation and Family?
Ooh, I see what you did there.
Hey.
Right, does everybody have their bingo card ready?
That's the really hard thing. Comparing with ADHD with kids that have ADHD, because we get stuck in this, like, I need to take care of them, but I also need to take care of myself, and everybody's sensory overload gets in the way. Maybe I'm the conductor. I'm the conductor now.
Yeah, it's all you.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
I got a conductor head here somewhere. But yeah, that's the thing, is like finding that balance of like being able to tell your kids, hey, I need like 15 minutes of quiet because my sensory overload is completely fried. All my capacitors are blown out, kid. And being able to have that, but then also being able to give the kid that too. And that's a rough one because oftentimes we have to be careful because some part of us still feels like the kid is manipulating us to avoid task performance.
Absolutely.
I just need Dad, I just need to go and chill out of my room. Okay. But that doesn't mean you're going to get away with, that doesn't mean you're not going to fold your clothes. Well, I'm going to do it. Okay. I know that. I'm just letting you know. I'm more than happy to give you the time that you need, just like you're happy to give me the time that I need to be able to get all the things done in the day that we need to get done, because we all have specific tasks that we have to accomplish. Because what are we? We're a team. Every family system needs to be a team.
Mm-hmm. Legit, I like that.
Lee cannot handle my therapist voice.
No, I can't handle my kids. We're talking about being overstimulated. My kids screaming in the background and making all the mess that I'm going to have to pick up later. It's just...
No, why do you have to pick it up later? Why isn't that a team effort?
Because my bathroom is so small, only one of us is going to fit in there.
So start up a train. Everybody does a certain part.
You're right. I just don't like your therapist voice.
It's very, actually, really, I have to be careful with my therapist voice, especially with my ASD clients, because my therapist voice actually registers in a specific megahertz area that is uncomfortable. So that's something I have to be very aware of when I'm working.
Interesting. That's not something I'd ever thought.
Well, it's not something I ever thought until one of my clients was like, your voice makes me want to murder you. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's talk about that. Why does my voice make you want to murder me?
And how does that make you feel?
It's when you use your soft voice, when you throw on the therapist voice, when you throw on your EMDR voice, when you throw on your hypnosis voice, it pisses me off. I'm like, all right, cool, then I won't use that voice with you. I can do that. I can use my regular voice with you, which is more strength. I'll do it.
All right. So we're talking about invalidation and family.
Yeah.
I'm grabbing the fucking steering wheel back from Alex.
I don't know. He was driving a lot safer than you were.
I'm an excellent driver.
I am not, but that's for next week's episode. Now, we've talked about how please excuse the children in the background. There's very little I can do about them.
On a topic about family?
We're just setting the scene for you all.
They're being so joyful and so free, and they're so comfortable being themselves in this moment. It's beautiful. There
are two specific ways that I wanted to talk about invalidation when it comes to family. The first being when you are a neurodivergent individual dealing with neurotypical family members who may see some of the symptoms of ADHD as we have them and invalidate the ADHD experiences and the struggles a person with ADHD might have because of those symptoms. So, for example, a big source of strife in my family for a very long time was my executive dysfunction and the way that it creates this extended task list of things for me to do. When I have a simple task to do and my mind will break it down into multiple steps. I get overwhelmed and I cannot get up to do the task. My husband, coming home expecting this task to be done because I'm a fucking housewife, it's my goddamn job, and it's not done because I was overwhelmed. And in the early part of our marriage, right after I gotten out of the military and everything like that, this became a series of him invalidating the fact that I was having a very hard time getting up and doing these things, and it not making sense to him because he's a neurotypical. So he's thinking about it in very black and white. You either you get up and you do it, or you don't want to do it, but you still get up and you have to do the thing because it's a thing that has to get done. And this creates a lot of arguments and stuff like that. So when we have family members who invalidate us thusly, what suggestions would you have for handling those particular situations?
Well, I think for the partner that is trying to support the neurodivergent partner, one of the most important questions that we can ask is, okay, I see that you can't do it this way. How can you do it? How can you allow yourself? Because it's allowing yourself. because our minds are so fucking defiant that we will literally not do things that we want to do.
Right.
Like eat.
Whoa. I make the shotgun blasts here. I am not subject to them, okay?
I told you right out of the gate, the rules have changed today.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is you invited Crazy Therapy Man to the box.
Yeah.
And this is my job. This is what I do all day. And so understanding that, like, how can you allow yourself to do it? How can you allow yourself to do those things? What are the things that you're going to need? And a lot of that comes from, breaks down to simplifying things, breaking our whole life down into systems. When we get rid of certain things, like the worry of where are my car keys, or where's my cell phone, because we have a station that they live at, and that everybody else in the house respects that that's your fucking station, and do not touch my station. Like right now here, that's one station. That little spot next to my bed, that's mine. Yes, I know it's disorganized, but you know what? I know where everything is. My wife does not touch it. She will occasionally remind me to tidy it when it gets near to being a fire hazard. But she'll say, babe, I've noticed that things are falling off your side bed station. Wouldn't it feel good to have some of that cleared up so that you can actually access the things and maybe even put down like a bottle of water or something? And I say, oh yeah, that seems like a good idea. And then she'll hang out with me while I do it and talk to me while I do it. And she'll even help me like
body doubling. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, body doubling is good stuff. And also just having that supportive human that's just chilling out there. Well, and my wife needs body doubling too. Like when she's doing a task, she'll put on an audiobook, she'll call a friend, she'll call her mom. She can't usually call me on my work days because COVID has done a number for therapy. Holy cow, I've never been more busy in my life.
I can imagine.
Another big part of that is understanding your partner's neurodivergence. Because everybody with ADHD is different. My ADHD is actually pretty chill. Like as far as like the spectrum goes, I'm pretty even keel, except for the days where I'm not.
I'm off the wall.
Well, that's the thing is, it depends on my days. Like if I start a day and it already starts with like good structure, like I do the same normal morning things, my brain's already cued to do the things I need to do. Things that are very easy for me, grocery shopping. I love to grocery shop. My wife, she has many, many, many wonderful traits, but picking out produce is not one of them. Except for avocados. She kicks ass at avocados. I suck at avocados.
It's all about finding that person who makes up for your weaknesses, right?
Yeah. Well, and also in the family dynamic, looking at where people's strengths are and looking where people are going to have the chance to excel. Because, I mean, there's a lot of things that I suck at. Like, I'm not allowed to do laundry, ever.
How do I end up with that? Because that's the one thing I should not be doing is laundry.
Well, trading tasks. I mean, you can't mow the lawn because you'll die. I mow the lawn because my wife will die. I do all the yard work, but she does enjoy weeding, and my wife, because of her super, super hyper attention to detail, is the goddess of weeds. Like, she can sit and pull weeds all day long. I hate pulling weeds because I pull like 12 and then I'm bored. Unless I get to use a machine. And then I'll do it all freaking day.
Because it's a fucking toy.
Right? Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. If you give me a tiller or a weed whacker or like my brush trimmer or like the electric tree trimmer that I bought that I really should have a supervisor when I used, I did bad stuff.
I just want to say the 5-year-old energy that you're bringing to the podcast today, I'm here for.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Just paint it yellow, write Tonka on the side, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
I joke that I'm basically a giant 12-year-old with a platinum card and a 158 IQ.
The only thing I don't have anymore is the platinum card, but that was so me when I was working in sales.
Like I am not allowed to go to a hardware store by myself ever again. I come back with all kinds of weird shit.
Patrick, you feeling attacked over there?
But I also recognize those things about myself. And I think that's one of the biggest things for the ADHD person, the neurodivergent person, is to be able to be very, very, very uncomfortably honest with themselves.
When it comes down to the invalidation as it relates to the family, I think that there's a fair deal of advocating for ourselves that we end up having to do, which can be exceptionally hard when we're talking about our family, whether it be a parent or a sibling or a spouse. standing there and saying that, no, this is what I need, creating those boundaries, sticking to those boundaries, and trying to get the other person to understand why those boundaries are in place.
Well, especially when you're dealing with somebody that has been invalidating of you up to this point for how many years, right? There's already that kind of a rut, that expectation that has been laid out in front of them, that this is how you are, this is how you're going to react. But when you're advocating for yourself, when you're breaking that boundary and setting a new one, then there are a lot of times where they're going to kind of like buck against that because, I'm not used to seeing this side of Johnny. I don't understand.
So I definitely had that issue with like what I was saying with my husband beforehand, where this was an issue early on in our relationship. After I got my ADHD diagnosis and trying to get him to be more on board, it wasn't necessarily working to my advantage until I learned to advocate for myself and draw those boundaries. And I sat him down. And for him, it took me having to explain like the science behind ADHD and why I have a hard time with these things. But since then, sitting down and coming up with those plans that say, well, I need a little bit of additional help with this. Can you help that? Prioritizing, for instance, is not a thing I'm good at. So in the mornings before my husband leaves for work, he'll write down a list of 4 or 5 things that I should be able to accomplish by the end of the day. And there's always one like throwaway thing that's in that list, like enjoy the little things or take the kids out to lunch or something like that. Something that is not considered a task, but something that should remind me to enjoy the journey.
Absolutely, throwing in a joyful task in there, but also recognizing that the patterns that we create for ourselves and the routines that we create for ourselves are also not static.
That's a big thing, yeah.
As our responsibilities change, as our energies change, as our kids change, those responsibilities shift. And so we have to be able to have a fluid plan as well, because like someday, and I think that's one of the parts about ADHD that just makes me bite holes in my cheek is that some days you can be a rock star. Like some days, happy little hyperfocus bug comes in and lands in your head and you just get all kinds of crap done and you're just like an unstoppable turbo machine and your partner comes home and they're like, what, did you have friends over? Did they help?
Did we fucking move?
Well, one night my wife had already gone to bed and I was having myself a little bit of revenge sleep procrastination going on there, and I already finished watching my show and I'm like, I'm going to organize our basement. And so I did. The whole basement. I completely restructured and reorganized our basement in like 4 hours. Then I went to bed, got 4 hours of sleep, went to work. My wife came downstairs to do a load of laundry and she's like, what did you do?
Is this the Twilight Zone?
Right, and then other days it takes me 6 hours to get in the shower, which is my cue, by the way. My getting in the shower is my mental cue for my day's beginning. On my weekends, I like to go a little bit slower than my weekdays, so I like to wake up, have a luxurious cup of coffee,
right,
or 6, and then have a nice breakfast, hang out, just kind of have a lazy morning, but as soon as I get in the shower, that's my signal. That's my signal that okay, your day is starting. This is when you're getting stuff done. And if I don't shower, my day never starts because these are things that I've like ingrained in my head. Because on work days, that's the second thing I do. Now I go out and feed the chickens, and then I get in the shower. But yeah, like having your rituals, having your routines, but also recognizing those routines aren't static, and then also realizing that your partner's stuff is valid too. I think there does tend to be a little bit of like when we get our ADHD empowerment going on of like, nope, this is how it needs to be and you just need to suck it the fuck up and deal. But we also have to have that like give and take with our partner. I mean, that's one of the reasons why my wife and I have such a good relationship is because she lets me know when she can't. I let her know when I can't. I let her know when I can and what I can't do. Like she'll ask me, what do you think you can get done today?
I want to ask you because I want to chime in and because I had a problem with this yesterday. So yesterday, my partner, Katie, wanted to go to the Michigan Renaissance Fair. And I am extremely agoraphobic now. Like, I going through an airport drives me fucking crazy, right? And I'm doing it because I'm going to see my partner, Amanda, but it still is like, it's an exceptionally draining thing for me. So I invalidated my feelings to myself of being afraid of the situation because of the people and the mass and everything like that by saying, are you really this afraid, or are you just trying to, she deserves to have this, and you need to go with her. So where do you, how do you prevent yourself from doing that to yourself as well?
Well, you can say I'm very uncomfortable going there because I'm still freaked out by COVID, but I will go there. However, these are my stipulations. I want to go there because I want to see Amanda, but I also need you to know that I might need to tap out.
Mm-hmm.
We do stuff like that all the time. My wife and I actually have a whole series of secret signals and phrases that we use when one of us is just like, nope, fuck this, I'm out, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because with my wife's ASD, sensory issues are a big one for her.
Right.
And sometimes she gets so overwhelmed that she can't even verbalize to me that she's not doing okay. I'll just look over and go, babe, what? You all right? And of course, masking. She'll be like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Okay. You're talking to a therapist, right?
And I will say this: Katie was very attentive and trying to make sure that I was okay throughout the day and everything like this. But the other problem was that we took additional friends with us, so now I felt beholden.
The obligation.
I felt beholden to them to make sure that I didn't affect their fun as well.
Okay, so in cases like that, then making sure that you've got an exit strategy. Cool, I'll go, but let's take separate cars. Or, yeah, I'm good with going, but I just want to go with you. Things like that. It's okay to say stuff like that. Also, I get it. There's always this fear of disappointing others.
Yeah, I'm going to spin off, actually. So this happened last night for me as well. I'm sure you have seen my wife fosters rescue dogs. Typically, we get the pregnant ones, and then we have 10 fucking puppies in here, and my sensory overload goes through the roof. And thank you, noise-canceling headphones and shit like that. But the wife sent me a text last night because she went to the rescue to go and babysit the dogs that they have there currently. And there is one that is stranded there because their foster is going out of town for a few days. So, of course, it is now stuck at the rescue. So all I have been dealing with for the last couple of days, after the last batch of pups, we are taking a fucking month off because my brain cannot handle it anymore. The barking sound, the sharp noises, it wanted to make my brain explode. And she has been pushing and pushing for the last 2 days after I had already set that boundary that, no, we are taking a break. And she's continually pushing that, but this one doesn't have anywhere to go. But it's so calm. It knows how to sit. It waits for its food. Stuff like this, right? This entire time, I've been getting text messages from her. Pushing and just that little hint of guilt tripping,
Well, it's important to recognize that, and it's important for your wife to recognize that not everything is supposed to be her responsibility.
That's true as well. But the
Just
one thing
you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I said to her this morning that kind of made her clue in a little bit more that I'm taking this a lot more seriously and advocating for myself is, I can't remember exactly what she said. It was a smart-ass remark about, oh, well, maybe one time, yada, yada, yada. And I said, yeah, maybe one time I'll set a boundary that you won't try to break. And that kind of clicked into her. She's like, ooh, okay. And then has been texting me the whole time, sending me fucking pictures of this dog. So just I can't win.
No, that's when you just type back, babe, boundary.
Yep.
This is a boundary that, yes, I get it. The dog is adorable. Yes, I get it. Well, it's just at the clinic, I work 4 days a week. I do 43 sessions a week in 4 days. I take Fridays off. And there's a part of me that goes, oh, I could work Fridays. I could take on more clients. I could, because I always have a waiting list, and I always have people that want to get in to see me because of my areas of specialization. But I also recognize that for my own well-being and also for my performance, I have to be able to have those days off. Just like on those 3 days off, my wife is she's a doer. She wants to do stuff every day of the week. And on my days off, she wants to just fill them with cool activities and stuff like that. And I tell her okay, let's look at those activities. Let's pick one. Some weekends I'm good for more stuff, but other weekends I'm drained. Pretty much the last year and a half, but ever since COVID started, It's been nonstop. And so I tell her, like, okay, let's pick like one day. Like one day we can take a road trip. One day we can go kayaking. One day we can, go do something really, really fun and exciting.
Right.
But the other 2 days, I want to be able to like stay close to the house. I want to work on house projects. I want to, tidy our home, make our space better for us.
Yeah.
I don't want to escape our living environment because it's uncomfortable. I want to be able to make our living environment better. And it's also about how we pitch it too, because like I say that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I would rather work on stuff around the house this weekend and maybe go out like one day. Because like this weekend, it was my responsibility stuff because we had the NAMI walk and then we had the company luncheon after the NAMI walk, and it was fun. But I'm humaned out now. Like, I don't want to go anywhere or do anything. Talking to you guys is all right, but everything else, no.
Yeah, but physically being around people, getting people out. Oh yeah,
it's draining.
That's where I am right now. Absolutely,
it's super exhausting, and I mean that's the thing is like we have to decide. Like we have to look at how much gas is in our tank every week.
Yeah, no. Well, with you talking about performance,
I mean, spoon theory applies to mental health also.
Spoon theory started mental health. What?
I thought it started in the chronic pain.
Started chronic illness.
Yeah.
And then it was adopted into mental health. That's right.
Yeah. Regardless, when you were talking about performance, right? What you're explaining there, and with only working 4 days a week and taking that day off, right? And if you go overextending yourself, you're going to be burnt out, and your performance is going to go down the shitter. And
I'm going to be garbage to my clients, and they deserve the best version of me that I can present in every single session.
Absolutely.
Think about it like a knife, right? A knife starts to dull. There's eventually a time in which you're going to need to use a knife sharpener to sharpen said knife. That knife sharpener is the time that we take for ourselves so that we can continue to perform as expected.
I'll say that's probably one of the hardest things that I deal with is because I have a lot of people who I sit at home all day and I do things at home all day, because I do social media and things like that. I'm not in school yet again. So like everybody thinks that that's my downtime, right? And it's not. I'm doing things here. I'm not doing things for me when I'm doing things at home. So then when weekends roll in, everybody wants to do everything with me, and I have a hard time setting that no, because there's that expectation that I don't do things. I sit around the house all day, so I have to go do things on the weekend. And I'm reaching the point where like the only recharge time that I really get anymore is when I leave to go see Amanda, because it's kind of like a vacation for me.
Yeah.
Well, and making sure that you're squeezing in some self-care every day.
Self-care is not just bubble baths.
No, it's not. But that sounds like a fantastic segue, actually. I like the way that you're doing this. You rolled this right into the next section.
Yeah, I mean, this last Friday, my wife and daughter were in Wisconsin this Friday. And normally I would take a day where my wife and daughter are out of town to, like, get a bunch of tasks done uninterrupted. But I also realized that with COVID and everything, these away trips are few and far between. So I hung out on the couch. I watched Kung Fu movies. I go order some Chinese food. Just hung out on the couch, watched Kung Fu. It was great. And because of that, I was actually ready and able to go and engage with a couple thousand people at the NAMI walk and then go to a luncheon. And I'm not burned out today. Like, I'm tired, but I'm not burned out.
Right. But you got that self-care.
Yep, making sure that you're finding ways to squeeze in a little bit of self-care. Like, my wife and I have a contract that on my work days, because I don't get home until almost 9 o'clock at night, which gives me basically an hour and a half to unwind, eat food, and go to sleep. She used to be like, oh, yeah, we need to take care of this, we need to take care of this, we need to take care of this. So we actually created the contract that I would talk to her about business stuff, like house business stuff, on my drive home from work. Because technically then I'm still at work, right?
Right.
And then once I got home, there would be sometimes food waiting. Not that I'm not the guy that doesn't know how to use a kitchen, because I do. And I tell her, I'm fine with cooking for myself, but if you cook for me, that's a double bonus. Especially if you cook something I like. But then I'm also fine with making my own dinner. And then we just kind of hang out and chill out. And one of the contracts that we have is I want her with me when we're chilling out.
Mm-hmm.
because side by side time for me is just as valuable as having a deep heart to heart. So for me, that's my daily self-care. Is I come home, I unwind with my wife, we chill out on the couch, but we still have that 15 minutes to talk about like the important crap that we've got to take care of later that week. But it ends before I walk through my front door.
And that's really cool though too, because you're separating home and work in that regard.
Absolutely, but that's the thing. Is like self-care doesn't have to be hours and hours. Sometimes self-care can just be 45 minutes or a half an hour or an hour, where you just do something that you know is going to fill your battery. And the trick is to do something that's actually battery filling, not numbing.
Yeah.
And there is a tendency to just be like, well, I'm just going to binge watch 7 hours of the Venture Brothers, which has its merits. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love the Venture Brothers. But having that balance of like, okay, is this going to actually fill me up? Or is this just distracting me, but I'm not thinking about what I'm thinking about? So sometimes dealing with the uncomfortable thoughts, dealing with the uncomfortable tasks before you actually engage in the self-care makes the self-care that much better, because then you can actually relax.
This is a good tip. I'm glad I'm recording this.
God.
The last thing that I wanted to talk about when it came to invalidation and family, the second part of my two-part, was dealing with ourselves when we catch ourselves invalidating somebody else. Now, I think, let me preface it. Let me explain. I have children. You can probably hear them.
Can now?
As if right on fucking cue.
I think you have one less now.
I wish. No, I'm kidding. I love my kids. But like right now, I'm in sensory overload because of my children and the screaming and the crying and the slamming of doors. In those moments, as a parent with ADHD, I have those emotional dysregulation moments that come with that sensory overload.
Oh yeah.
And I am definitely more likely to snap and say something unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tips for people like me who currently just want to go hang their children by their toes over the bog of eternal stench because they are having issues. They are cleaning their room. My youngest right now is tired, so he's cranky.
On cue. Gold star for the reference, by the way.
These are amazing. Yep.
I'm going to let my husband deal with this because that was the agreement that we made.
And that's one thing I would say is it's okay to tap out and be like, I need you right now. I need you to deal with this. My wife and I do it all the time. We tap in and out like freaking WWF wrestlers, man. Except
my kid doesn't stop. He might get the chair.
Oh, and you know, how old are your kids, Lee?
The youngest one that you heard just singing you the song of his people, he's 5. My oldest is 6 going on 7 this month.
Okay, those are really, really hard ages because they're still basically developing awareness and empathy. It gets better around 8.
That doesn't help me, Alex.
I'm not done. Here's the thing. Your kids still have some ability to process logic at this age. Sit down with them. Go, okay, which version of mommy do you like best? Which version of mommy do you like best? Do you like mommy who yells and screams and freaks out and cries? Or do you like mommy who is fun? Do you like mommy who can be calm and directing?
I hate the fact that you have pegged me like so fucking accurately. Like, cause I will lose my fucking shit.
It's not like that's his fucking job or anything.
Yeah,
right?
I will straight up fucking like when I am overloaded like I am right now. Like, I am already on the verge of fucking tears. I know you can't, it's a podcast, so you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm sure that they've noticed that I've been like, I have a scarf and I've been like squeezing the hell out of like my arms and...
You're fidgeting the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so like we've had this exact conversation with Evelyn before too. Like over the years, one of the big things we've taught Evelyn is self-regulation. Like I started teaching a kid meditation at age 2. Sit down with them, go, okay, which mom do you like best? Well, it's a no-brainer. Not scary Gehenna mommy.
Yeah.
That's the mommy we like best, right? Okay. When do you notice that you get that mom? Well, when we don't scream and yell, when we don't destroy things, we don't set our bed on fire, when we don't set up some sort of like French Revolution barricade.
When you don't put...
That one.
I'm gonna have to deal with this. My husband is apparently not doing it.
And right now, that kid is letting you know that he is not okay, and he's doing it in the only language that he can right now.
I try to keep this in his...
Right, but that's the thing. But the problem is that we are very much like the praying mantis. The praying mantis, the scream of a bat completely short circuits the nervous system of a praying mantis.
I did not know this.
The scream of a child, there's a certain frequency, like there's a certain range of frequency. And I swear to God, short circuits. I'm a pretty zen, chill dude, and there is one tone that my daughter had. So recognizing when that scream happens, you're allowed to say, okay, I hear you. I understand that you're not doing well right now, and this is the language that you feel like you have to use.
Mm.
But I also need you to understand that the more you scream, the less I can do to help.
Yeah.
Because it is my youngest's scream that is like a huge fucking trigger for me.
Oh man, I totally understand. Evelyn had this one shriek that it was like somebody boiled my eyes.
That's an apt description.
Oh my God. It was rough. I would tell her, like, listen, kid, you can either go in your room and scream like that, or we can figure out what's going on and deal with it. And also, sometimes it's about setting the kids up for success as opposed to failure. I mean, you mentioned that your 5-year-old's really, really tired right now, but you're having him clean the room.
Yeah, that's not my choice. That's the husband's choice. This is one of those parts where, like, my husband and I are not always on the same page with parenting, and it's that compromise thing.
Right. And sometimes it's about going, okay, little man, you need to go take yourself a little nappy poo, and then when you wake up, we're going to deal with your tasks. But right now, you're not doing good. You are a train wreck. Let's have a banana. Let's have some peanut butter. Have a little lie down. And that's what we're going to do right now. Sometimes it's about realizing that you're not going to get what you want out of it. Like, I was a stay-at-home dad with my daughter when she was 2, and it was awesome. And the thing that I had to let go of was schedule. Because I would make plans. But, all right, we're going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We're going to eat breakfast. We're going to head out the front door. We're going to go to the zoo. After the zoo, we're going to go to the family museum. After the family museum, we're going to go to the library for enrichment. And then after the library, I'm like, wait a minute. She's 2. Her legs are like 1.5 feet long.
I mean, for the record, you wouldn't pull me out of the zoo for the full day anyway. Like,
Well, yeah, no, for sure. But the thing is, like, I learned that very, very quickly. That, like, some days we might just sit around the house, maybe do some coloring, maybe play with some blocks. I'll do some baking. I'll put dinner in the crock pot, and then maybe we take naps. Maybe we watch a little television. Not a lot, but a little. You know, just something, like maybe an hour of television, because we really limited television with Evelyn when she was little. We tried to encourage a lot of independent play, which is hard when you're an only child. And then my wife took over. When my darling wife took over, I told her, I'm like, you cannot have a schedule with this child. Like, I get it. You have things that you want to get done, but now everything depends on the functioning of this tiny person. Because you tried to go to the grocery store, and this kid's like, fuck your grocery store. Guess what? The grocery store is going to be a murder, or just a murder spree. It's going to be awful. The kid's going to scream at you the entire time. You're going to look like the worst parent in the world. They're probably going to try to claw your eyes out because they're trying to communicate to you in the only way they know how. Because they've already tried to communicate to you by saying, no, I don't want to, except they didn't say, no, mother, I don't care to do this because I am quite tired from a good day of frolicking and it's quite warm outside. Because they're not on Wuthering Heights. They're a little child.
Yeah.
The devil, but yeah, continue.
See, we got lucky in that regard with Jason because she's very independent, right? So the independent time is not so bad. But when she was younger, I didn't want to take her to the grocery store.
A lot of it is learning to read the signals. And the thing is, like, it sounds like, well, I mean, your husband's neurotypical, and so he might not be. Not that neurotypicals can't do this, but we tend to pick up a lot more on, like, really, really subtle things. That is one of the beauties of being neurodivergent. Also, I think that has a lot to do with the trauma.
So much to do with the trauma.
Oh, yeah. Like, noticing, like, the kid's, like, vibrating. Are they vibrating because they need to do something, or are they vibrating because they're hyperstimulating because they don't want to sleep?
That's not suspicious. That's not weird.
No, not at all. But yeah, like, making sure, like, that, I think that's the big thing is, like, actually scheduling with your kids. I mean, that's one of the reasons we love homeschool. It's like middle of the day, Evelyn will look at me or my wife and go, I need a nap. I'll study Russian after my nap.
Hey, Lee, you want to come out of your blanket fort over there?
Nope, because it's trying to focus the overstimulation at this point because my husband's yelling at my kids.
I understand.
And yelling isn't really practical, but it is very, very human.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have that place of overwhelm. I yell at my daughter, and then I feel like absolute garbage after I yell at my daughter.
Yeah.
And it creates our own cycle of shame, and it creates our own cycle of feeling not good enough. So learning to break those independent cycles and just really trying new stuff until things work. I mean, with my kid, it's always been very much, okay, this isn't working. Why isn't this working? Sit down with me and talk with me about this. Tell me about why this isn't working. Why isn't this working for you? Okay. See, I need these things from you, and you're unable to give me these things right now. And again, using that term right now, because that lets them know, I understand that you cannot perform this task in this moment, but at some point I do expect you to perform this task. Yeah. What is it that's getting in your way? It's just like with a partner. What is it that's getting in your way? What is it that's stopping you? How can I support you? Like with my daughter, she'll fold her clothes as long as we bring them to her bedroom.
Seems about right. Jay said it started rolling hers up.
Yeah, she doesn't like going down the basement, which I don't blame her for, because our basement is terrifying, and it has like it's an old 1800s farmhouse, and it has a glorified ladder for basement steps. It's dangerous. Oh. Yeah, I can't wait to get a new house. That's our next step. But so I get that. She's like, I'm nervous about carrying my laundry bag up the stairs. Oh, okay, cool. Well, we can bring it up the stairs. We have more of a body strength than you do.
Yeah.
We're also a lot less physically awkward than you are, so we can do that for you. Do we need to bring it? Would you like us to bring it all the way up to your room, or just like bring it up to the dining room? I would really like it if you bring it up to my room, because if it's sitting on my bed, I know that I can do it. Cool, I can make that happen for you. But also, then there are times where, like when my daughter has a sleepover at a friend's house, I will automatically assume that my child is going to be absolutely good for nothing the next day. Because I know that she's going to stay up late. I know that she's not going to get enough sleep. She's probably not going to eat properly. And so the next day, I know that Evelyn is not... So I don't plan anything for her. I'm like, all right, cool. Chill out in your room. Do you. If you want to hang out, watch a movie with me, that's cool. You got to take Monty for a walk. But other than that, I don't expect anything else of you today. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to expect other things of you the next day. But right now, I get it. You're wiped out. You're exhausted. I mean, if we don't teach our children how to validate their own interoception, then we are just feeding the next cycle.
And then it just continues on and on.
Yep. And then they do it to their kids, and they do it to their kids. And then we're all about breaking the chains of trauma.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I mean, I like anybody who meets my kid is just like, your daughter is so cool, and she's so well, and she's so even. And I'm over here going,
if only you knew.
Yeah, she's great with other humans. But she'll also tell you, like, I am experiencing sensory overwhelm, and I need to go chill out. I need to go take 10 minutes to just breathe. I'm like, all right, cool. Go do you. I love you. Because we've taught that self-regulation to her, and that's, I think, one of the greatest gifts we've given to her is and something that I also pass on to my kids that I work with, because I work with 11 and up. My youngest client was actually 8 years old now, and because I did a couple of specials. And my oldest client was 111.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at that point, he was the oldest living man in the United States.
And he was all yours.
And he was. And we were basically, like, working on being okay with dying. It was weird. But yeah, like, realizing that we have to look at the ways that we were invalidated and figure out how to reverse engineer that so that we can create that cycle of validation. And that also means getting our partners on board, because my wife was raised with screaming parents.
Both of us were.
Yeah.
And realizing, well, did you like that? No. Did it work? No. I mean, yeah, it did, because you were scared enough to do it eventually.
Yeah, but trauma doesn't equate to work.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is you did the task out of fear, not out of a sense of responsibility and community. Mm. And that's what we're trying to foster in our home, is a sense of community and responsibility, as well as helping my kid realize that she has the power and ability to self-regulate. I always say the most beautiful moment in every baby's life is the day that they learn how to burp and fart on their own. Because That's catharsis. That's autonomy. That's their first real moment of autonomy. Like, oh my God, I don't need to sit here and scream until you make this horrible pain go away. I can just fart? Brilliant. Yeah. So we build on that. We build on that as parents. We go, okay, if you're experiencing some anxiety right now, let's work on some things that are going to help you feel less anxious and calmer and more focused. And I want to give you a safe place and a comfortable place to work on that. Now, it's not the middle of the grocery store. So I need something from you right now. I need you to take a few deep breaths, have a little sip of water. I know I said the icky word, Lee. I'm sorry. I know you don't drink water.
But say I have soda, does that count?
No.
I thought that your household ex-nate the whole no thing.
That look right there. Guys, if you could see the pure look of offended indignation on Lee's face when he said no to her. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, just read the ingredients on that, Lee. How many different artificial colors and caramel flavors are in there?
Doesn't matter. It tastes good.
I mean, here's the thing: is soda is better than drinking nothing.
Which is 100% a thing that I will do. If the option is water or nothing, I choose nothing.
Right. So it's better to do something than nothing. And if all you'll drink is soda, then drink the soda. But also realize that that's probably some act of defiance there too.
No.
Defiance tastes delicious.
This guy has got you pegged to the fucking dartboard today.
So bubbly.
To the dartboard.
Wow. This is how we normally feel, folks. This is how we normally feel.
I'm so here for this.
Right? Like, this has been the best episode so far, watching these darts just fly at Lee. And
those aren't darts. Why do you guys? Why do people feel attacked when I say these things? These aren't attacks. This is a dialogue to open up our own insecurities and explore them so that we can work on them and improve as a human being.
That's right, Lee. You hear that?
And now that we've sat here and had this free therapy lesson, we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Are you neurotypical? Do you have one of those pesky neurodivergents in your family? You know the ones. The type who are just lazy, don't try hard enough, and always forgetting things like dates, keys, times, people, places, and just where the hell they put your favorite coffee cup? Well, say no more. Hi, I'm Willie Everdoit from ADHD Incorporated. And thanks to our recent takeover of Baronde Labs, which was not hostile in any way, ADHD Pharmaceuticals is proud to present to you the cure to all your problems. Introducing Quitrovecin. With its patented Swedish formula, these suppositories are just what your doctor was afraid to order. With only 2 of these little yellow bum bullets, just give yourself the old finger cram dunk, and a little quitch will scratch that itch. Ah, that's some good fanny rocket. Due to a recent lawsuit, we are legally obligated to advise you to consult your doctor before taking Quitrovecin. Side effects may include knocking your ass out. No, seriously, that's it. Good night, sweet prince. No one has to hear your ignorant, invalidating bullshit for at least a week. Quitrovecin. Just stuff it up your ass and quit your bitchin'. Available now at your local ADHD Incorporated pharmacy.
So as far as you wanted to ask one last thing about what is it the deal with my chickens?
Yeah, why chickens?
We have...
Dinosaurs.
They are. They're dinosaurs that give you food.
Yeah. They're soft.
And yeah, they are. They're very actually soft and quite affectionate. Really. We actually... I've always wanted chickens, but because we, travel a lot, we have a lot of hobbies that take us out of town, we've never really had the time to dedicate to chickens. And then during the pandemic, which a lot of people actually got chickens during the pandemic, chickens, rabbits, dogs, cats, all kinds of stuff. Everybody got a pet during the pandemic. But we decided hey, right, we're basically locked up for 3-4 months. Let's find something to occupy ourselves so we don't all go crazy. And the chickens, honestly, saved everyone's sanity in our home, because we went and got them about 3 weeks after my daughter's birthday, and that was part of her birthday present, was she got chickens because she'd wanted chickens, and we raised them up in the house, and then they got too big to be in the house, and we went, oh shit, now we have to build a coop, because planning a minute. And
see, last episode.
Last episode.
Our last episode was time management and planning. You see, it was stuck really well, right?
Yeah. I'm super good at that. I'm married to someone who's a very good planner, though, so that's very helpful. We balance each other out really, really well, because I am fun and impulsive, and she is logic and rules. So we balance each other very well in that way, and we actually co-parent very well in that way too. Because I teach my wife how to be more fun, and she teaches me how to be more responsible in that way.
Sounds like a good
awesome.
trade-off.
It is. It's a very good trade-off. It works really well. I mean, granted, there's always days where the system fails, but
There's always
but that's being human.
Do you
Yes.
have any parting words of wisdom for our listeners before we close out?
Whenever you have the chance, be kind.
I love that.
And that doesn't
Sounds
mean
like a good one.
being and that doesn't mean being a pushover. That doesn't mean not advocating for yourself. That doesn't mean not putting your needs as relevant, because we can be kind and still be ego-centered. But I find that my life is far more fulfilling and more comfortable when I do my best to be kind on a continual basis.
Okay, folks. Well, I have to say, at least this time, we didn't do some really, really massive call-outs like we have been of late on you guys.
No, we saved that for the therapist.
No, that was all directed at me.
It was definitely directed at Lee today. It was very, very fun to sit on this side of the barbs and make sure that I didn't get them thrown at me.
love to watch you squirm.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Assholes.
It was definitely, I would say, another valid and wonderful disaster piece of an episode.
Yes, it was.
So I'm still not sure why you guys keep coming back. But that being said, we are going to wrap this episode up, and we'll start with Alosaurolophus. Where can they find you when you're not on the podcast?
TikTok is about it. I don't really do a whole lot else with social media, just because I'm busy, man.
I don't doubt it.
I'm just super busy all the time. I work 43 clinic hours a week, and then I've got an awesome wife and an awesome kid. But yeah, TikTok videos. I do occasionally have people that try to hit me up through my clinic. Unless they're local, I can't actually do anything with that because of of where my license sits. If they're not like a local client, or somebody that wants to be seen, I can't actually do anything about that because we have people from Texas, Salt Lake City, Utah, Ontario, Canada, people that want to do telehealth sessions with me. And I can't, because the telehealth structures are what they are, I can't see clients outside of my area unless they're already existing clients.
Right.
Yeah. So honestly, just really, you can find me on TikTok. I'll keep doing videos. I'll keep doing that sort of thing. And other than that, yeah, just keep watching. I'll probably be on some other podcasts. Who knows?
I think it could happen.
We'd love to have you back at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to come back on. I know I've been on Katie and Eric's podcast as well. I know they want to have me back on at some point.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones that I've been asking. We just haven't set a time for it yet. Yeah, obviously I think I need to get better gear than just my cell phone because my hand tells sleep like 3 times.
Then there's always the battery issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, battery issue. Well, it wouldn't have been so bad except Monty the Magnificent over there actually unplugged my charging station for my everything upstairs in my bedroom. And I didn't know that. I had my phone plugged in thinking, oh, yeah, this will be fine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it died. I'm like, what the hell? So I went down and looked at and yeah, nothing was actually plugged in. So I had to get all that plugged back in.
Whoopsie.
Okay, Lee, where can they find you when you're not podcasting?
I am on TikTok and Twitch at Lee, that's spelled L-E-Y. Lee Plays Games. You can also find me someplace else that I always forget to mention.
YouTube?
YouTube.
I like how we did that in sync.
It's like we know you or something.
Uh-huh. It's like we've met.
It has been an emotionally draining day, okay?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Well, that's what happens when you have to sit down for therapy with Alosaurolophus.
Right?
Jesus Christ, that was an extended therapy session, wasn't it?
It was.
Okay, and when do you stream on Twitch?
I do stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday traditionally, starting at 7:30 a.m. with the exception of the first Wednesday of the month in which I do a dual stream with our very own Squirrel Dad.
Yay!
And that has a tendency of being at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. Lately, I know I haven't been on and I've been canceling streams. I'm not going to apologize for it.
Don't.
I'm not going to invalidate myself. You like how I'm doing that?
I do like how you're doing that.
I've been in pain. I have extenuating circumstances, and I've been taking care of myself.
That's
so
right,
on
honey.
occasion, I do have to cancel streams for health reasons, and you can, if you're in our Discord, you end up getting notification from that I have to cancel or move a stream.
Thank you. Well, Spaz, where can they find you when you're not on the podcast?
When I am not on the podcast, very similar to Lee, I'm on the Tiki Talks, I'm on Instagram, I also have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. ADHD Everything is where you'll find me. I also stream on Twitch, same name. I stream on Mondays and Fridays, 1:30 Mountain Time till about 4. And as Lee had mentioned, typically the first Wednesday of every month, we do a dual stream together. And that's 1:30 Mountain Time until 4. My beacons list, of course, has the link to our community Discord, which I was going to make reference to. As Lee said, she is not apologizing for taking time away. That's because in our community, we call that Rule 0. It means real life comes first, always. And taking care of yourself and self-care, as our guest pointed out, is very important. So that's where you can find me. How about you, Patrick? Where can they find you?
So I am still there on TikTok. I do pop in from time to time. I do put videos out from time to time. My account is not dead. So other than that, I am on Twitch still. I will still be streaming on Twitch. I stream on Mondays and Thursdays from 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Standard Time. And there are some special episodes in there too. Like at the end of the month, we do a community games play along. So make sure you guys check that out. I do put the announcements out on Discord as well. Additionally, I do and will be taking a more active role managing the podcast's Patreon page.
Yes.
So we do have a Patreon. If you guys have not signed up yet, we would appreciate it if you do, so you can get the bonus material. It's not required, of course.
It also helps sponsor the podcast so that we can do more things with the podcast, because it costs more money than we were thinking it cost.
Yeah, if you want to support the podcast in another way, Spaz has the merch store in his Streamlabs on his Beacons list. And on his merch store, he has shirts and hoodies and a new special mug for the podcast. So make sure you guys check us out over there and help us out with that.
Does this mean I've made it?
Yeah,
my face
Your face
is
on a
kind
coffee
of
mug.
on a mug?
Yeah.
Did I make it?
Yeah, I think so.
Goals.
But I guess that wraps all of this up. We appreciate you all. We love you all so very much for joining
100%.
us. And all you crazy people who keep on downloading this podcast.
Yep.
We love you. And we wouldn't be able to do this
Thank you
without
all so much.
Thank you guys so much. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
And fuck Lee's followers.
Fuck you. Only I can tell my followers, fuck you.
We'll catch you in 2 weeks.
Oh. Uh-oh. My phone's...
Uh-oh.
What?
His phone died, I think.
Wait, what was I doing? A Squirrel, an Ape, and a Trash Panda's ADHD podcast. Episode 7. Hosted by Lee Plays Games. ADHD Silverback and ADHD Everything. Special guest. Alosaurolophus. Recorded on September 19th in the Squirrel Station Discord. Mixed at Darkside Studios. Music by Stream Beats and Infraction. Many thanks to our patrons, Amanda, Annalisa, Barry, The Queen, Chelsea, Dawn, Janelle, Chaos, Linny, Nikki, Topher, Ari, Brian, Liz, and Road Toads. Tune in Tuesday, November 2nd for a very special episode 8 as we salute neurodivergent veterans. We promise we won't let Spaz act like a fucking child and ruin the commercials with his goddamn toddler fart jokes.
So we're gonna have to have him back for a trauma episode, I feel like.
You think?